On the morning of May 21, 2025, in the isolated port city of Chongjin, North Korea was poised for a historic moment. Under the gray sky of the northeastern coast, Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un stood proudly on an elevated platform, flanked by high-ranking military officials and naval engineers. Before him lay the crown jewel of his maritime ambitions, a brand-new, state-of-the-art 5,000-ton destroyer. It was meant to be the dawn of a new era for the North Korean Navy. The ship, reportedly part of the new Cho Hyang class, was designed to rival South Korea's and even Japan's naval assets. North Korea had poured over $500 million into the construction of this vessel, an astronomical amount for a country grappling with sanctions, food shortages, and economic isolation. The crowd gathered with rehearsed smiles, cameras rolled, and military bands played triumphant melodies as the launch ceremony began at exactly 10:47 a.m. This wasn't just a warship. It was a political symbol, a message to the world that North Korea's military might could extend from its borders into the Pacific. But within just 7 minutes, that message would sink, both literally and figuratively. At 10:52 a.m., something unexpected happened. Witnesses described a subtle yet ominous shift in the destroyer's positioning. The massive vessel, still mounted on its launching rails, began to tilt unnaturally. Instead of a smooth, controlled entry into the harbor, the ship's stern support system gave way prematurely, detaching without triggering the synchronized release needed to stabilize the launch. In a moment, the destroyer started sliding, uncontrolled, toward the water. Panic rippled through the crowd. Engineers shouted. Military officials reached for their radios. And Kim Jong-un, once smiling and confident, now watched in horror as his flagship naval weapon turned into a mechanical catastrophe before his eyes. By 10:54 a.m., the situation had spiraled out of control. The stern of the warship plunged into the harbor while the bow remained lodged on the platform, still anchored to the rails. This grotesque imbalance twisted the vessel's frame, putting enormous structural stress on its midsection. 5,000 tons of steel, electronics, missile systems, and military hardware were now being warped by pure physics. The ship began to tilt sideways, groaning under the strain. Its hull cracked, critical systems ruptured. What should have been a textbook launch had devolved into a scene of mechanical self-destruction. At 10:58 a.m., the moment turned catastrophic. The ship was essentially being torn apart from within. The keel, the spine of the vessel, buckled under the asymmetrical forces. Eyewitnesses described the sound as a deafening metallic shriek that echoed across the harbor. Emergency crews rushed in, but it was already too late. By 11:05 a.m., the once mighty destroyer had capsized onto its side in Chongjin Harbor, partially submerged in brackish water. Smoke hissed from its exhaust stacks. Panels had ripped open. Antennas and radar masts snapped like twigs. Just meters away, Kim Jong-un stood stunned, his face pale, his jaw clenched, as aides whispered frantically behind him. North Korea's greatest naval achievement had become its greatest maritime humiliation. Within hours, the scene was covered up. Blue tarps were hastily thrown over the wreckage, not just to hide it from locals, but to shield it from the watchful eyes of satellites belonging to South Korea, the United States, and Japan. But the damage was done. What was supposed to be a secret was now a spectacle of failure, recorded and analyzed across the globe. This disaster occurred at Chongjin Shipyard, located in the country's northeast. Unlike the more advanced Mampa Naval Facility, where a previous launch had succeeded just weeks earlier, Chongjin lacked the infrastructure for such a complex operation. Critically, no floating dry dock existed at the site. A floating dry dock is an essential piece of equipment for safely launching and repairing large ships. It allows the entire vessel to be floated out in a controlled environment. Instead, the Chongjin team attempted a sideways launch, a method never before attempted on such a massive vessel in North Korean history. And for good reason. It's incredibly risky and mechanically unforgiving. This wasn't just a routine destroyer. The Cho Hyang-class warship was rumored to be armed with 82 vertical missile launch cells, cutting-edge Russian radar systems, and potentially nuclear-capable cruise missiles. Its successful deployment would have marked a new chapter in North Korea's military doctrine, transforming it from a coastal defense force into a regional maritime threat. But building an advanced warship requires more than ambition. It demands engineering precision, international-grade infrastructure, and technical expertise, qualities often lacking in authoritarian, closed-off regimes where fear replaces open communication. What exactly went wrong? Experts believe the stern launch support system either jammed or collapsed, possibly due to poor materials, human error, or structural misalignment. As the stern dropped, the bow remained immobile, locked on its rail. This resulted in uneven weight distribution across the ship's 142-meter length. Naval analyst Carl Schuster, a retired U.S. Navy captain, explained, "When part of a ship moves and the other doesn't, the hull absorbs massive stress. This warps the structure, induces hull fractures, and in extreme cases, can break the keel. Once the keel snaps, the ship becomes structurally worthless." And that's exactly what seems to have happened. Within days, North Korea responded not with transparency, but with arrests. The chief engineer, Kim Jong-un, was taken into custody. The head of the hull workshop, Ko-on-hak, was arrested. Even the deputy manager, Kim Jong-hak, was reportedly detained for questioning. Behind closed doors, Kim Jong-un reportedly referred to the incident as a criminal act rooted in absolute carelessness. Heads had to roll, even if the fault lay more with institutional limitations than with individual negligence. North Korean state media attempted to downplay the disaster. They released a vague statement claiming no holes were found on the vessel's underside and that the damage was not serious. But satellite images told a very different story. U.S. and South Korean analysts confirmed the failure was catastrophic. The ship lay visibly tilted, its hull warped and its systems compromised. Despite this, Kim reportedly ordered that the ship be restored and operational within a month, a demand seen as laughably impossible by naval experts worldwide. As retired South Korean Admiral Kim Duk-ki put it, "Without a proper dry dock, lifting a 5,000-ton damaged destroyer for structural repairs is not just hard, it's functionally impossible. You can't fix a twisted warship in the water." This event underscores the dangerous divide between military propaganda and logistical reality in authoritarian regimes. While North Korean media projected strength and invincibility, the truth revealed a military-industrial complex overburdened by unrealistic expectations and crippled by technical shortcomings. The launch that was supposed to project dominance instead became a textbook case of how not to build a navy. Today, the destroyer remains partially submerged in Chongjin Harbor, still shrouded in blue tarps. Its advanced systems, likely ruined by saltwater exposure, are being examined in secret. Engineers and workers continue efforts under immense pressure, knowing that failure might mean prison or worse. For the outside world, the incident is more than just a naval accident. It's a cautionary tale, a reminder that advanced weaponry and military strength are not merely products of national pride or political slogans. They are the result of careful engineering, tested infrastructure, and disciplined project management. Without these foundations, even the mightiest warship can become a $500 million wreck, visible from space and impossible to hide. And in the case of North Korea, those 7 minutes in May 2025 revealed more than just a failed launch. They revealed the cracks within a regime trying to outpace its own limitations, one broken ship at a time.